Good. Smithville Board of Aldermen work session is now called to order. First item on the agenda, and so she can leave and get to a softball game. Miss Neth is here for a Main Street update. Everything's awesome. You're good to go. That's it. You have a memo in your packet. If you didn't read it, too bad. Bye. Hop on up. Sure. It's like a hearing. Step up to the mic. State your name. What up? Any questions? Did everybody read the memo? I think it was well put together.
Thank you.
What's going on with Main Street? Junkville this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
So, Alicia, thank you. The report was well done.
Thank you.
I can't remember. I read it, but the goals, what would you say your top 3 goals are for Main Street moving forward over this next year?
I think to try and continue the momentum that we have, try and really focus on the community aspect of the events and encompassing the entire community with whatever we do. Just continue to bring people downtown and show all of the great things that are going on down there. We have a lot of new businesses. I think that's going to help us in general, just bringing people down. So just to build off of that, build off of the excitement.
Can I add to that just for a second?
I would love that.
One thing that we've altered this year is that we've actually created some more like family-friendly events that we've also added. So that's kind of the new thing that we're hoping to continue into next year as well. Adding the scavenger hunts around town. They've been really cute. So, yeah.
There's been a lot of good feedback on those.
I like the idea of the website. Everybody using the website.
Yes. Yes.
Guess we're not gonna grill you too hard.
No, taking it easy on me.
I have a question. Alicia?
Yep.
Were you guys working on a logo, on a C logo?
So we were working on the Main Street logo. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's different than the one that I think that Gina was
Okay.
altering for the city.
Okay.
But the Main Street logo, yes, we worked with a marketing company and a volunteer person that lives in Smithville and has for a long time. She volunteered her time as the liaison between us in that group, and they came up with color scheme, logo, different types of files, I guess you would say, with that logo. I don't know if am I saying that right, Damien?
Yep.
Different types of files. So we can put it on the website and all of the social media.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Man. Go for it.
Down here about strengthening the partnerships with other city groups. Are there
Yes.
specific groups that you're targeting to partner with, or just all of them?
All of them. I mean, we've always partnered with the chamber with Junkville taking place on the same day as the barbecue bash. I think this is our 8th year for Junkville, maybe 9th. And yep, so continuing to work with them. We've partnered with Parks and Rec on a lot of things. We worked with them for the scavenger hunts and then the fall and Christmas decorations that go up downtown. Yeah, but if any of the other civic groups wanted to team up with us, we would happily welcome it.
Anything else? All good? You're free to go.
Thank you.
Enjoy softball. You might get
Yes.
rained out though.
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is discussion of business licenses. Jack, I guess you're up on this one. Rain is stopping in 52 minutes according to the weather app.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We were here in August on the 6th. Finance Department was presenting you with schedule of fees issues, making some tweaks. And at that time, staff's recommendation, you may recall, was we need to go ahead and make some code changes to put all of those fees into the schedule of fees all the time. We've been doing that over time with nearly all of our fees. You'll also see the zoning fees provision. That was another ordinance we just did. This thought was to do them all at the same time so that it coincides with the budget changes. Based upon that review, when we started getting ready to do those changes from August 6th, we identified numerous other issues. And we've made recommendations in the memo as it relates to how those operationally would work, how they could work if approved. I would be more accurate. You've got the red line version. I have received some comments from some of the aldermen with some issues that probably should be corrected. They're not of any substantive matter. It's just word choice that would make it a little clearer and make it more consistent as well. So from my perspective, I know there will be questions. So I think it would be better if you've read the memo. You kind of know where we're at from a staff perspective based upon the August 6th stuff. Hopefully I can answer some questions and get some direction at the end as to what the ordinance will look like for next week.
I'll start.
Go
Sure.
for it.
My first thought was, why do we even issue business license? And I kind of thought through that process myself. So if you wouldn't mind explaining why the city even requires the business license.
Well, there are a couple of reasons. I think the most significant is we get our sales tax as a city through the Department of Revenue. And they have obligated the city, if someone gets shut down by the state, they notify them, but they send a notice to us and we're obligated to go shut down their business with our enforcement tools since we're here. And that's part of the collection process. That's what we do. It also allows us to eventually be in a position to compare our licenses with those people that have it, have retail sales licenses. We don't know if it's a home occupant, if somebody's got an Etsy or one of those online things, unless somebody actually sees it that works on city staff, we won't know it's there. And when you get the codes, if this is from my recollection from years ago, but when you get the codes from the state of who paid what tax, sometimes they don't match up with any business licenses and we don't know who they are. It's a tedious process to track back who they are. And some of them may have been an itinerant vendor. So they came in for a simple sale, a festival or something, and identified what they were paying.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't, so we didn't track a lot of those folks. It also is the provision for, at least on the contractor side, we have the ability, and it's a requirement that they provide us with workers' compensation insurance or the exemption required by state law. And if they are in electrical, mechanical, or plumbing, that's where they also provide us with a copy of their master's license to make sure that they're proper in doing that. And we have a structure in place with the permit side that Brandy will not release a permit unless she's got that verification. We've actually had to shut businesses down and do no more inspections because their master's license, from what we had, it expired. They had to update that information. So that's how we've used it in the building side. So those are the two main issues.
I appreciate the explanation because I know at the state level, they don't require it, but most cities and counties do. So that's why
And
I'm
I-
just wanting an explanation.
I would
of
also
why.
note too, it is difficult, like Jack said. There are businesses that may not be licensed because we just aren't aware. And one of the things that review of this ordinance is helping us with, in conjunction with the implementation of our new financial management system, is being able to make this more, more user-friendly process, more automated process, so that hopefully we can not have the renewal issues, renewal timing issues, make sure that once we know that we can create more checks and balances on the system and an ability to be able to ensure that businesses are licensed.
And one thing I'll share with, my other question was, I know it's not going to happen immediately with the transition that you're going through, but once it really becomes fully automated and it's working pretty good. All the bugs are out, or most of the bugs are out. I'll put it that way. I'd like to see that maybe be aligned with our city fiscal year. Just like we do the water rate increases, that they happen November 1st. Is that something to
I thought
possibly
the
look at
business license
later?
is November 1, or is it December
They're
1?
December 1 right
They're
now.
December 1. And part of that has been just because business licenses come out through the finance department and because the finance department's putting the budget together, we've had that staggered to kind of have a little bit of that break in the timing.
And it's actually
What might make more sense would be a January 1. It is,
November 1 to October 31 is when the license are there, your first.
Renewal.
payment
Your-
are due
You
December.
renew.
payment, sure, yeah, your renewal,
Yeah, I
yeah.
thought the issue date was November, or like the time it's available. Yeah, it's November 1 to
November
October
1 to
on the
Yeah.
certificate.
It is November, so it does meet, it's just the timing. It might make sense to look, what might make more sense is look on a calendar year.
It might be easier for the businesses.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
from a
you.
tax,
I-
from a taxing standpoint.
I think
it's a-
the getting it online is going to make it easier for the because and I don't know if you see even our congressmen are posting a lot. The mail's still having a lot of issues. I mean, people don't get the renewals.
We have an auto-generated
Yeah.
way to be able to get the information out, and it can be emailed.
Yeah, or you log in just like your water bill
Or
and see it.
Exact, it's all online. We
And
can do it
ACH it,
online.
right? Save some fees.
That's right.
ACH, auto debit that thing.
And ultimately, that's the benefit of this new system. We're still in training. Every department's in some training related to it, because it has a lot of functions that we've got to
Are they-
fully understand.
Are they gonna be able to upload their like their plumber certificate and stuff like that through that system too, since some of those things are going digital now too?
Yeah, that's the hope.
Good.
I can't figure it out yet, so I don't really, I hands off and let people that know what they're doing
Yeah.
do it. But
I know it's
yes.
gonna take time to learn it all, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, all documents from a permit standpoint, we have the ability to pull in the permit applications, their master's licenses, their certificate of insurances, the no tax due statements that are required for all retail, you know. So there's a lot of stuff that we can get automated through that.
Cool.
Instead of getting an email here and, oh, that doesn't work. This system will basically, you fill out when you log in to fill out your application. And if you don't have all the documents, it won't go forward.
Yeah.
You
Well, the way
gotta Get
the,
all your documents. in.
yeah, the school district one, it's like you can complete the individual forms. So you have your progress, but you can go and look and see what's left
Right.
fairly easily.
Right. And it'll tell you, from what I understand, it'll tell you what you're missing. And sometimes the documents that are sent, even now, and we don't think the system will stop that, is they're incorrect in some fashion. So we'll have to, the system is set up that they don't automatically get billed and get their license by just sending it in. We have to approve it. So it puts it in front of an employee who looks at all those documents. Yes, they're all correct. And then the invoice goes out. Yes, you're approved. Here's your invoice. Here's your fee.
Cool.
Okay, I'm through with my questions.
Yeah, I know. Some of us just got back from the MML conference. One of the things they're still working on with the state legislators that are going to be coming in after this next election is the exemption on home-based businesses aren't, they're not required to have business license anymore. So they're something we have to deal with the Jeff City because I've seen more pop up. I know we have detailing businesses, they've got signage and stuff out, but we can't, there's no enforcement because it's home-based. Etsy stores, like you mentioned, and
Yeah.
eBay stores that might have a UPS truck pulling up every day. We can't.
There
Track
are
that.
massive restrictions on what cities can do.
Yeah. Any other questions for Jack?
Yeah, Jack, I had a couple questions. The first one, I sent the email, I think you got it. But one of them was, if we can get rid of that exhaustive list on there. I'm not sure if there's a way to, because, or if we need to redo it, because some of that stuff is just archaic and other ones, I think they've looked like over time, they've added one here, one there or something,
Well, oddly enough, my understanding of the origins of the business license system was that list came from a state law from 1919. And that's when it started, that list of businesses.
I mean, you don't think we're gonna get a bookbinder next year?
Or
I mean-
the dram wagon's always the good.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
But, so that's the basis of it. But Missouri's set up with every classification of city has, some of them have different rules as to what they can and can't do. So a charter city can do anything that any city can do. But you've got first-class cities and second-class cities, and we're a fourth-class city, so we're limited to what those laws will allow us to do.
I wish we would have a shoe shine parlor. I mean,
Yeah.
I really, yeah,
But-
going to
but-
the airport,
yeah.
this is a pain.
But at the end of the day, if we want to go down that path, that would be something that would need to go through legal so that they can make sure we're not doing something inappropriate. How that,
Poultry dealer. I love that
Yeah.
one.
I'll be truthful, I didn't proofread the list, but I'm really wondering about a moving picture show.
It's there.
A moving?
That's the state, yeah.
A moving
Yeah, that's
picture
what it's
show
called back then.
instead of movie?
Yeah,
Moving.
yeah, because it was a moving picture show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Tina.
to me, it ought to be movie.
I mean, I'd like to see the definition of hothouse.
yeah.
I know that one. That one we're good with, but yeah, it's some,
Anyway,
And yeah, I mean, I would agree. Some of them, towel supply agency, how many towel supply agencies have you heard? So, I mean, there are odd ones out there, so but if that's something the board wants to look at, that would have to go through legal.
I like the sign maker and sign maker are separate.
And really,
Then we can discuss it again in 50 years.
But my understanding of our origins of this has been the same version since we implemented it in 67. So I didn't see any changes in, Linda keeps a list of all the ordinances passed, and I can search for either business or occupation and find that ordinance and then go back and read it, see what it says. And I didn't find anything that ever changed the businesses regulated.
I mean, hat cleaner must have been really important back in the day.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, one of the changes we did add about businesses was a state law that was passed at some point in time. I didn't do that history. And it's chapter 71.620, and it exempts certain businesses from it. Engineers, doctors, surveyors, real estate professionals, if they don't have a license or if they don't have an office in your city. There's all kinds of odd exemptions, chiropractors and the like. We changed our ordinance to say everybody that is in that list has to do it except for people in the state law. So I've seen other cities actually deliver
List of all.
those in a city ordinance. We did the easier route.
Yeah, it'd be real difficult to have a realtor come in from out of town to sell a house and they have to get a
Well,
business
right,
license.
and the way we did it is actually a little, it's actually smarter because if the state law changes in 10 years and adds something or deletes something from that list, we will automatically have that exemption built into our ordinance. Otherwise, we'll have to come in and change the ordinance every time the state law changes. So that's one of the benefit of incorporating the ordinance.
Yeah, I was hoping it would have been easy just to say, like any business that, that is revenue generating and non-revenue generating could, would have to get a business license, but
Yeah.
guess it's
And
a
that
little
may
more
very well
difficult than
be
that.
possible, but it would be over my head on
That would.
authority. That would have to come from John.
And what would the lawyers have to do?
Huh?
Then what would the lawyers have to do? You wouldn't have any language to argue over,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I want to get a drummer business license now because it's on there. Can't drum at all, but. Any other questions for Jack? Jack, thank you for working on this kind of stuff. It's, I know they're going to do some more building code changes too with because 2024 and 26 and whatever,
That
so.
would be coming.
And our plan is to bring this forward then in the coming weeks for the board for approval, so we can get it into the schedule of fees and get these changes. We know there are some additional changes that may have to come, and if the board would like us to look at that language of how to clean it up to get rid of some of the archaic language, we can actually follow up with John then as well.
And just so I'm clear and I understand it, I've got a draft ordinance in here that's redlined. We will be able to present you with that cleaned up redline version next week. However, there are 3 or 4, as I indicated, edits that need to be made related to director of finance versus finance director. There's a couple of city administrator references in there that didn't get caught. So we will clean those up. I have a list of notes of little things that have been pointed out to me. So we'll make those corrections and it'll be available for the packet next October 1st.
Cool. Can we have the EDC work on getting us an adding machine business? Chuck, you know what an adding machine is. Don't look at me like I'm crazy. Gina's like, what are you talking about? But Chuck knows.
Having an adding machine.
You don't know what a 10 key is, do you? Matt knows.
Yeah.
There, Chuck probably does, or Chief probably does. Yeah.
Mine's on my.
One-handed?
I, I was a very proficient 10-key operator.
Okay. I guess you're off the hook, Jack. Thank you. Now the exciting world of more finance with Mr. Walker. Finance Director. Director of Finance. Which one are we going with?
The works. Righty, let me make sure I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, it works.
We got it slowed down a little bit for me. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that one. I think that was it. Well, good evening, Mayor and board members. Tonight, we will have a second discussion on the 2025 operating budget and 5-year CIP. Quick reminder from our first discussion in August that staff would be able to have another month of financials to analyze the revenues and expenses that were coming in still. Also, as directed by the board, staff will also bring, as we will get to here shortly, financial scenarios regarding the compensation packages that we have. A couple things that we did highlight in August was sales tax. Sales tax had started to slow down. September came in pretty strong, so we're able to revise that revenue for 25. Also, we were unsure at the time of interest rates, and we all know that interest rates took a dive of a 0.5 percentage point. So we will keep our estimates for 25 where they were at in the originally. So I will go through quite a few of these slides relatively quickly and then slow down where we have some changes. On this first slide, and as we always say, changes are always happening. Today, we had an update on our health insurance premiums. They are projected to increase less than we have budgeted, although staff is going to be looking at a structure change that it's too soon to kind of throw out a number at this point. We just want to be able to analyze this. It just came in this afternoon. So that is one number on this list that has decreased.
So what we'll recommend is that we leave this number for budgeting purposes, and that we'll work within that on those structural changes that we look at. But we do anticipate, health insurance is a difficult one because as we have staff turnover, we may have somebody that currently is on a lower cost plan and somebody comes in a higher cost. So we don't want to make a lot of significant changes to that, but we want to look kind of structurally at way we might be able to address that plan too. But I will say this is the first time in 6 years I've been here that health insurance haven't increased at or above the amount that we had budgeted. So we're excited about that.
Every year it's gonna, that scary thing. What's it gonna be?
Right.
It's gonna land.
On this next page, just some of the necessary operating increases. Nothing has changed on this. Looking at debt, obviously nothing has changed on our debt situation. Our rating is still the same. Here I'll point out a couple things. First page, nothing's changed on the first page. Second page, I want to highlight that bottom line, the Northland Career Center. Based on board's direction, we did put a $2,500 one-time donation to that cause. Also worth mentioning on the 24 Direction Finder survey, that is still budgeted, but we do not have a reboot of the strategic planning cost in there. So we do have the Direction Finder still budgeted.
I tried to get David to do it for free, but he wouldn't do it. He was here, what, last week? 2 weeks ago? Yeah,
But we got him some business.
yeah.
He's going to be doing a comp plan update for the city of Greenwood.
Oh, did he get the, awesome.
Rick,
They
can we
should-
get,
they should go in.
go ahead, Mayor.
Go ahead, yeah.
On the direction finder, can we get, understand how many people that, how many surveys that covers? And if we up it or lower it, what it does to the cost as far as, I mean, if we want more surveys or less surveys, I mean, is.
But then that messes up the statistical relevance of the
Yeah,
survey.
we'll
You do the
bring,
same survey you do the same survey every time with the same number of people based on population. You can't up it. then you
Right,
screw up your
Well-
But since the last 4 years, it's gone up, haven't, since you've done it, wouldn't it be more?
we'll work,
population?
we will bring, so as with anything in the budget, when we bring it forward, we'll talk with you all about the survey and what that looks like, but we can have conversations with them because population has changed. So we'll work with ETC Institute on the number of surveys that they recommend to go out to get the statistical significance that they're looking for.
We can't
They-
drive that number.
This is the nice thing about working with someone like ETC Institute is that they do this in multiple communities, not only in the metro area, but around the country. So they've got they know the numbers that they're shooting for to be able to get the information they need to be able to feel a level of confidence with that statistical significance.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions on the general fund highlights? All right. This is one of the primary areas for our discussion tonight. As you can see there in the green, all the financials are still based on a 10% director, 8% frontline scenario. As we go forward here, I will show you a few different scenarios, see how that affects our cash flow and reserve.
And I will just jump in here also. That will be one area that we need direction from the governing body tonight so that we can finalize the budget to bring forward as to determination on that. And Rick will have that information for comparison purposes, which you've seen in the presentation.
We'll pull the board from right to left so they can prepare. That means Leah's first. When it comes time.
All right. This is a new slide. You did not see this last first discussion presentation, but just wanted to highlight where we were going on some of these higher revenue buckets. So property tax, we will have a slight increase over budget of last year. Interest income, this is the one where we will stick it at 315,000 and stay at that number. Sales and use, both will have a increase over budgeted 24. They are relatively flat, slightly lower than what we're projecting for this year. Just going into next year, signs are not super bright, and just want to make sure that we're being as conservative as possible on this revenue. On the revenue summary, there are a few changes. It did increase roughly $50,000 for the ending total revenue line item. This is almost entirely due to sales tax. Since sales tax, as I mentioned, came in a little stronger in September, we did increase our projections and budget for 25. These next few slides have not changed very much. If they did, it'll be by 0.5%. Still 55% of the general fund revenue is sales tax, use tax, and property tax. Expenditures also did go up by 31,000. mostly in the capital outlay, as we will see as we go through the water fund as well. We did some revision, making sure our numbers are right, making sure the years that we were going to expense items are correct. We did add a few engineering projects. That number did increase roughly 170,000. But with a couple other decreases, the total balance is a 31,000 increase. So if we look at revenue at 50,000 increase, we have expenses at $31,000 increase. We have a roughly $19,000 increase in our ending fund balance for 25. These next couple slides just break out the expenditures. I doubt these numbers change too much. I think the personnel expenses did change slightly, but 66% is very, very common. Public safety, road maintenance and recreational amenities and parks are part of the area that makes up 74% of our expenditures. And in this slide, I did add the wayfinding signage, but I also added the line, we will only do that if the grant money is received. I did not have that in there last time, but I think it was important to at least show it, only to be done if we do receive that grant money. And here's our final net change to fund balance. Again, slight increase in revenues, a smaller increase in the expense side, resulting in a roughly $19,000 increase in fund balance at the end of the year from our first discussion. This chart will look pretty much the same. What will change is a slight increase in fund balance in 25 going forward. And this is the cash flow versus our reserve policy. I would find it very hard to see a difference in this with the small increase that we've had. Looking at the numbers, you'll see the small increase. All right, here's the compensation that we said we would bring to you guys to look at. Starting at the top, again, that 10% director, 8% frontline is what our entire budget is built on at this point. And what I did was just take the cash flow and the reserve and copied each of those sections down and drew a line starting with the 10 and 8 where we hit the reserve. As you can see, as you move down and we would go smaller in personnel expenses, that reserve shifts to the right. But that line, if you look at the line, look at the dates, basically at the 10% director and 8% frontline, we would hit reserve probably late second quarter or third quarter of 26. As you move down, we would still, even at 6% for all, we are still hitting in 26. More than likely, it would be during third quarter. So a change in the compensation numbers does not change drastically in the cash flow or the reserve analysis.
Rick, I do want to point out, and we forgot to talk about this afternoon, but we talked several times last week. The amount of expenditures is what the required reserve fund balance is based on. So the amount of fund balance required goes down slightly when you spend less. So there's not a one-for-one offset here, and so that's what affects that trend line. The other thing I do want to make sure that you all recall, these numbers are numbers you've seen over time. The 8 and 6% is what staff originally brought for the retreat based on information that we had looked at, comparative data of other communities in the region in the Northland, and trying to keep people on pace with those increases and comparing the way different structures and different pay grades are compensated in other areas. So these scenarios are ones you've seen before and have either been provided by staff or requested by the governing body.
Haven't these adjusted since then? Have they went up already?
No, because what we initially projected was an 8 and 6% increase. We've not updated the information. Now, the other thing too is, so on the Missouri side of the state line, budget years are all over the place. So there may be some changes here that would affect that, but we have not changed the information since that comparative data since we put the information together.
Our reserve, we're going off of total budget, not just operating budget, right? So it includes capital improvement projects.
No, that would not include, when you're doing reserve and the operating, it does
operating.
not include capital projects. Because if we were getting into a situation where reserve was getting close, capital projects are typically not going to happen. This is based on what does it take day in and day out to operate. So the capital projects would fall out when you're doing this reserve.
And 25% of the year is what we can
Right.
cover
Correct.
if all the revenue goes away.
Right. So this is the big piece that we are looking for a little direction on going forward. And again, just reiterating, everything I'm presenting tonight is based on the 10% director and 8% frontline.
And I saw in your original scenario list, you had 10 and 10. How much difference is that?
I don't
all.
have the
Oh,
10
you
and
put on
10
that
up
one. It's
there,
on this one up here.
but I was
Yeah.
running all the other ones and I did run that one.
Yeah,
I
it's
did
at
run
the-
that one.
It was in the original, the slides further
Well,
back.
right.
It's
Yeah.
on,
Dollar
it's an above
value,
one, yeah.
but it's not in one of these
Right.
slides. So we can flip back here real quick and you can,
There you go.
There it is.
so if you're looking at the dollar increase, we're looking at roughly a $29,000-$30,000 jumping from
Between
10.8.
10 and 8 to 10 and
10 all.
Yep. Couple $1,000s a month.
Roughly. So I did run this, since I was running all the scenarios, I did run that scenario based on this. If I was showing 10 all in this scenario right here, we would probably hit reserve during second quarter. It does not move that needle hardly at all.
Because it's $30,000.
Right. And it's split the 20/75 as well. So that does not move the needle at all for the most part, if you look at 10/10.
Okay. So as I stated earlier, we'll start on the right side. Alderman Shipley, where you landing?
I still like the 10 for directors and 8 for frontline. I like having that bump up for the directors.
Bilski?
I'm between the 8 all and the 10 directors, 8 frontline.
Atkins?
I still like the 8 and 8 right now. We're not getting any more revenue coming in.
Wilson?
I'm going to go with the 10-8 because really, when you look at where it's going to hit reserves, there's not a big difference between the two.
No.
And I know in the past, looking at this, a lot of things can happen. And we thought we were going to be at this point 2 years ago. And here it totally went the other direction. So I'm going to be a little more optimistic and still go with the 10-8.
Russell?
Thank you, Mayor. I prefer the 10 across the board. I think it sends a good message to the frontline people that their leaders are taking this, not getting a bigger increase than they are.
Anyone want to change their answer now that they heard everybody else's answer? I know what Dan's answer was, but he's gone, so he doesn't.
You do the 10 and 8. I'm fine
I'll
with
do
that.
10-8.
You got the direction you need? Sounds like 10 and 8.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you for that direction. Board.
We'll get the 10 keys out later to help add this all
Help
up.
do that now. Hey, Rick,
Get
can
Jason
I,
up here.
because you're going to be going into water and wastewater here in
Yeah.
a second. If Alderman Wilson said something, if I can springboard off of that for just a little bit of an introduction on this to steal a little bit of your thunder, is that okay?
Yep. Do I have a choice?
I mean, you can't say no, but your review is like November 1, I think, is what they're saying, so.
So Alderman Wilson talked about projections and the fact that numbers look like they're going down and we just get to that place. Our performance in a lot of areas have improved over the years. Since I've been here, we've been looking, and every year as we've put the budget together, I think 3 of you sitting in the middle can attest, you've heard me say, Combined Water and Wastewater Systems Fund is an area that we need to monitor. We need to be watching this fund. When I got here, we had just completed one of the master plans, and I never get the order right, water or wastewater.
Wastewater.
But we've completed the wastewater master plan. We did the water master plan the following year.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's water
okay.
first.
Okay, we did. Sorry. That was so professional. Sorry. We completed 2 very quickly.
You came in midway through the water, so that's why it's a,
It's all
You
such a
know.
blur. It's like a flush.
no, that's wastewater. That's wastewater. That's wastewater.
Okay. So anyway,
Water's
I'm
the
failing
faucet.
miserably. I'm going to move ahead.
It's a drain.
But the point that I was trying to make, and so ineloquently so now, those funds, the studies outlined a need for new infrastructure as soon as 2023. Our growth projections have pushed back and pushed back. We know we still need to make improvements to both our water and our wastewater systems. We have several millions of dollars of improvements that we need to make. We've been talking about and planning for that for a number of years. We also came in knowing we had significant amount of work on our existing infrastructure because it had been left, we had not made the investment in infrastructure that we probably should have been doing. So over the last several years, we've talked about this. We know that we have work to do in this area. The chart you're going to see here shows some real imbalances and a need for continued focus on review of the fund, but also continued focus on, in 2018, we also did our first rate study in a number of years, actually in common memory,
Good girl.
done double-digit increases throughout as well. In order to continue to maintain the existing system and expand for our community's growth and needs, we'll need to continue to really look at